Which one do you want to talk about first? Is it?
Employee retention or employee, yeah.
Okay, so what makes your HVRP so successful is this great staff that you have.
I won't go that far.
You created a team.
Well, we've got a team, a HVRP team, and we've been able to keep and retain them for the last 3 years. We think one of the things that works for us, and it's not everybody, but the thing that works for us is the fact that they're all veterans. We're lucky to get 3 retired veterans, so 2 retired Air Force, 1 retired Marine. So that it worked for us because a couple factors is one is that social work doesn't really pay that much, and this is kind of a social work, and so it's got to be somebody who's not in it for the money, but somebody who's in it to want to help veterans. That's really the key thing there. One guy was right out of the Air Force, so I had no skills in any of it, but the point was that you can teach the people how to do the paperwork. You can teach them where the employers are. They weren't familiar with the neighborhood or the area. They learned where the employers were. They learned where the jobs were, how to do the paperwork and the applications. You could teach somebody to do all those things. If you can't teach them to care about these individuals and try to bring them back. So to me, that was a really good point. Our company had put out that they wanted veterans 100% for that, and it worked great we've done it for 3 years, and they've all their hearts are in it. But I've learned since then, though, that there are other family members, one lady that works for us with the SSVF program, for example, does our supportive for the family members. Her whole family is Navy, or children are in the Navy and the military. So, it's just as important for her, to step in and to. So, I mean, it's not, you don't have to be a veteran, but you have to be concerned about a veteran. So that's really kind of the key that's really made it important to them. They want to help them and hold it together. The other thing I think that personally, just from managing the program per se, is make sure it's HVRP is laid out so organized. I mean, as far as your deliverables, what you have to report and what you keep track of. If you share that information with everybody, if everybody knows where the goal is and what you're doing and how you're proceeding along that path, it's not a secret in the vault. You put it out. I do spreadsheets and put them out on the tables to let people know where you're at. How many do we need to stay within the numbers and the boundaries of what we're asked to do in performance goals. So tracking that and sharing that, it really makes everybody feel like they understand their contribution to the overall program. So I found that those two work really good there, and it's worked for us for the 3 years. We have 2 programs. We have a rural and a urban program. The urban program has a lot more supportive networks, things around it, and they have a tendency to turn over more. In our rural program, there's less to do, so you have to learn more of all the other facilities and things that would be networks around us. A lot more to choose, less to choose from, rather. So once you understand where all the resources are in a rural situation, it really kind of empowers you to know all that's going on there and how important it is that you can relate to the veteran to get them out of their cars and houses, out of the woods in our case, and actually show them where the food is, where the housing is, work with the partnerships that are available. So that's an important part. The other thing I wanted to talk about was if you're lucky enough to be in a community where they have either a veterans court or a veterans, some kind of concern. Usually it evolves from there's been a lot of problems with veterans to someone put together enough to get a veterans court together so that they actually treat veterans with a little bit of understanding and a little concern and work with the VA and things along those lines. And then if it evolves enough in a community or an area to reach into the jails and the prison system, that they have a separate pod for veterans, and they teach them and work with them, trying to rehabilitate them in a way and allow us to come in and work with them as part of our outreach and as a part of their transition plan. That's really been very helpful for us for the last 3 years to kind of work on that. And now we're seeing a lot more possibilities too. Generally, the majority populations are males in the prisons. They have a smaller pods for females, but now they're starting to identify more and more female veterans. So we're seeing that as a possible way to capture, not capture literally, but to capture and help female veterans, you know, because they're pretty elusive in the wild. Female veterans, they're hard to find sometimes, you know, because a lot of people have the misconception that a female veteran should look a certain way or whatever, and they, just like everybody else, they turn into somebody who blends in perfectly with their community there. So it's hard to find them, and as we're trying to provide services to more and more female veterans and incarcerated veterans, you know, it's important to make those connections work together.
Good, I think that's a